Hello, Ben here from Supercoach Insider, bringing you my team reveal. It's been a little while, and I'll explain why. Because, let's face it, the Supercoach season is fast approaching, and we're about to get into unofficial preseason games, and that is where the team will really set in. Before I move on, please find us SC Insider 100 on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, and on YouTube as well. Search Supercoach Insider. Swizz, also, I'll give a shout out as well. Amazing work in this preseason, getting to work. I love the amount of content creators and the collaboration. I was just talking to MJ from Coaches Panel as well. You know, when we started this as a couple of guys chatting footy, we're talking 5, 6, 7 years ago now, there wasn't as many people out there in the space recording, putting out stuff, but now it's so good. There's a lot of content creators. There's a lot of conversations that happen behind closed doors as well, and also getting them up onto different podcasts, ourselves included, which makes it an awesome space. So whoever you are, whatever you listen to, there's plenty of room for us all. Find some different opinions and perspectives and have a look to make your own decisions. Now, my team has changed slightly. It is looking a little bit different, and I'm nowhere near set on what I want to do. I am very much a data-driven person, which means I really want these preseason games and the unofficials as well to kind of have a look at the role, which is really going to dictate who's in my side. And then weighing up strategy, which is probably where I'm going to talk into with my team. It's weighing up the pros and the cons and some strategy going forward as far as how I want to kind of approach this season. Now, getting into the defensive line. I have looked at Sinclair. Wanganeen Miller as well is definitely in the mix for things. But there's so many... The one thing I keep coming back to, there's so many rookies in the defensive line. And I feel like D2, D3 is kind of where I'm struggling as far as premiums because of the amount of buys that a lot of these players will have. So I'm trying to reduce the amount of buy players I can have, but also I want to really be flexible with how I start this season. And I think flexibility is key because when you have premiums and you're going guns and rookies, you kind of have to back your guns in more so than anything. So guns and rookies, even if they start fairly well, you're not really just aggressively trading them out, necessarily speaking. You kind of bought them for a reason. You try and back them in. You're trying to generate cash for your rookies and then get your trading cadence and upgrade season happening from that. Now, the one difference is my strategy at the moment and my thinking at the moment is I want to kind of look for value which probably start a little more mid-price than I usually would, but then knowing that I'm not going to be overly committed, I'm not overly sold, I'm easy to pull the trigger on changes. Because if someone fires off and comes up unexpectedly, I'm not trading a premium, I'm not trading like one of my guns to make that move. I'm kind of using these... the mid prices, the D3, 4 or M5, 6, 7, the forward line. I'm using all of those kind of hype players that we've seen in the preseason to kind of stay flexible and really adjust aggressively. And if things work out fairly well, I can try and upgrade some of my rookies or one down, one up to get them to a premium sooner. Because I think the one thing I really want to do is I want to try and use, round 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to be aggressive and try and finish my side sooner rather than later. And I feel as though having guns and rookies and trying to downgrade 2 rookies to go 1 up, you're relying on rookies to show up during the season and stay good rookies. And you're then having to try and spend up to get these other premiums as well. So I'm looking for value to make some money while others drop some money, and then I'm looking to upgrade. So that's where my kind of thought goes. Wanganeen Miller I do like. I could be easily sold in this preseason. I could be easily sold in round 0. No, they don't play. No, so... in round, kind of leading into the preseason game, should I say, because I think there is a lot of scope for him. He was in my first team. I definitely rate him. I rated him more than Sinclair, but it just depends on how that goes. Now, Sinclair out, does that help? That's going to be the real big indicator coming into this preseason. Sheasel playing, midfield, but also was like deep forward pocket in some of the intra games, so some of the games that the clubs would play in-house. Not so worried, but he is very expensive. For 635k, you kind of go, okay, what if he does play forward a little bit more? What if he does drop a game? The one thing I keep going back is to, I think he's more of a lock to be top 6. As a midfielder, he's still going to have these highly impressive games. So he's someone I just know I can lock in. Now, he's also someone that doesn't have the first lot of buys as far as, the round 0 games. So it frees him up to be a little bit, to score well through the first part of the season. So secondly, I'm looking, now Short's a burn man. Now, if you used your heart and you used your head, you'd probably say never again. Now, I started him last year, and this goes to show that it's not a personal thing, because I thought he had some scope to do pretty well last year. But what we know is that he kind of switched positions and Rioli became more favourable, lost it as well. So in the preseason, I'm looking for his role. Apparently, he's being freed up. He's that loose distributor off the halfback. Daniel Rioli scored really well in that role. So therefore, I think Short could probably score around that 100 or so mark. Not saying he's going to be a keeper again, but you would hope he might, I reckon, could go 100 to 105, which is probably similar to Wanganeen Millera. I think maybe 5 points less, but it's a 100k difference. So I've always come back to a probably lighter defense just because I think their rookies are better. So Mills, no-brainer, training in the midfield. Travaglia, I'm not so sold on, but he's a winger, so I do want to see it before I start. Looks like he's pretty good. I want to see it. O'Sullivan's not highly owned, but he was one of the best interceptors in his draft league, in his draft year. They've recruited him up. Also, if De Koning, so Sam De Koning, if he plays ruck, or even a Smith, like a sniff of being a ruck, I think there's a lot of value there. I think O'Sullivan then takes the intercepting role to help win that defensive line. He's trained well. By all reports, I think he could be a really good position, and we'll see. So it depends if he's locked down as far as his potential, but you could get a lot of intercepts there. So he's someone that I'm looking at for that. Reed as well looks healthy. Touch wood. Intercepting, kick, doing well in that defensive line. Leak, Buslinger. There are a few others in this position as well that I would definitely look for, and that's why I kind of threw Bo Allen into the midfield just for a little bit of that security. But this is probably the weakest part of my team. Now, I say that, but also you're looking at, 4 bye rounds in the first part, so it's best 18, which means it's only really, round 1, round 5 maybe, so 2, 3, 4, maybe round 6. So there's not too many rounds that I'm going to have to rely on until I hit to sort of the upgrade season. Now, I think at the end of round 5, DPP comes in, which means that most of the time in this first part of the season, I'm running best 18, so the defense isn't really going to get exposed the way it normally probably would anyway, which means that there's only 1 or 2 weeks where I'm having to kind of work out which rookie to put on field, and even then, one of those probably won't count, because let's face it, they could be the weakest part of my lineup. So then I'm looking at, okay, you've got some of the people that had the first bye, so your Houstons, you have your Whitfields, you have your Flanders, what's going on there, and that's where I probably plan to make my first upgrade. That's where I plan to really strengthen the hold. Laird could get DPP, some other things happening, and then move. So that's the strategy around that, because normally it would probably hurt you, but because it's best 18, I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue as it normally would be. Now, the midfield, this is where it kind of tosses up a little bit, and this team, and I'll get into the speculatives, because this is how this team started, by me going, okay, let me go with value and let me go with the hype players, the breakout players, the ones that everyone's talking about, and let me see how I can actually fit a team in by using value and using these kind of hype players. And it actually came out quite well. Now, there's probably a couple more than I would like, and I'll talk about the changes I probably would make to make it maybe a little more premium heavy, by a little more. Still fitting into that strategy, but I'll get rid of 2 mid prices, put in a premium. That's the other alternative, depending on how people play. But Bont, Butters, Sarong are ones I really want. Noah Anderson I do want, but again, that buy, does he go big enough round 1 against West Coast to justify? I think it'll be a round 0 watch on how he goes, the role he's playing, how dominant he looks, and then I might make that adjustment, because if he goes really big round 0, I know he's going big against West Coast, so therefore, do I make that change, take the big West Coast jump, hope it balances out over his next few rounds so I'm not as impacted? which could be the way that I'm sort of leaning. Plus, if I have like a Nevitt and some others, a Hewitt, depending on how they look, they might actually be able to really, how they score in round one, it might actually help as well to kind of, buff the difference, should I say, as far as the scoring between a rookie and a premium for round two. So I may start one of those. We will see how we go. But Oliver, again, no-brainer. Main part is Butters, Sarong. Early draw is favourable. High premium players, another VCC option that I think we'll need to use, and Bontempelli as well. I've looked at going elsewhere, but again, his ceiling's so good. 60% of the time you're taking that VC option of 120 plus in the last 2 years, that is, and he doesn't drop in price. So I don't really want to have to pay up 600,000 because he hasn't dropped below 610K the last couple of years. So I might as well just start with him. There's value elsewhere. Let me pay up and just know that I don't have to worry about him during the season. Because every time he drops to about 610, you're looking about maybe a month later, he's gone back over 700, and that's happened the last 2 years. So I want to just start with him, and let's just set and forget for that one. Now, let me talk, and I'm going to lump the forwards in with this into the midfield here, because Peatling, Sanders, Parker, and I think probably they're the main ones. Peatling, Sanders, Parker are three that I'm not quite sold on, but Peatling playing midfield and on the wing, looking really impressive. He's had a good preseason. He does have a history as far as scoring quite well when he has that role, so I think he might be able to make 100K. I don't think he's going to be a keeper, but he might bridge the gap, get me some good scores early on, let me upgrade around him, make me 100,000, and then I'll wait for another premium to maybe hopefully lose 100K. So it's kind of like a bit of a stopgap. So he's someone that I'll probably hope to make a little bit from, get some early scores, and then upgrade when it's the time is right. Now, Sanders, Trelaw's out, bad injury, so he's someone that's doing well, also hitting the scoreboard in some of the intra clubs, and getting some of that midfield mix. So it'll be really interesting to see him and Kennedy as far as how that mix goes. But again, if he gets the role, 50% midfield time, I think there's definitely a lot of meat on the bones there, and he's a forward eligible, so he's someone I'd be, kind of trying to, it's almost like roulette where you're trying to put a few more chips down to see if you hit one and then you can shift, which is kind of how I'm looking at it. It's kind of like a stopgap. I'm not, I'd be easily, I could pull a trigger on someone. I could downgrade one of those to a rookie, throw short up to a Flanders or a Whitfield in round 2 or 3 after their bye. There are those options as well. So it's not like I'm set saying that they're all going to be keepers, but I'm saying that they have the potential to make money. Their role looks good. And that's the main part. They look like they have the role based on other injuries, which means that there's money to be made and some possible good scores to be had in that first sort of 6 weeks before you hit the upgrades. And then I can use them as a stepping stone to then elevate my team and progress. Parker's the other one. Now, Parker I was 50-50 on. I thought he might be able to go 88-90 average. I'll be keen to just bank his scores early on. And it looks like he's getting some CBAs as well. So with North, and you've got Wardlaw being out, I think Wardlaw was that bigger body in and under hard nut. And I think they want someone else to support LDU. Sheasel's kind of the gloss, and they'll probably put some others around, which means I think Parker is probably going to be in there just as that mature head, that bigger body, give them some stability and, allow them to play the way that they should. So I think Parker could be a really good one for that point. And Powell, yes, I know Powell will be there, but at least Parker can kind of go in the midfield, go forward. We know he can mark. We know he can hit the scoreboard and impact it that way. So I think he's probably looking at a 90-plus average to start, which means I'm probably thinking there's another, again, 100K maybe to start the year, plus some points on field. And I'm not having to play additional rookies and play a little bit more roulette. So I'm really happy with defensive rookies. I'm happy with kind of some of the forward rookies or some of the expensive ones. And midfields, I'm happy for on-field rookies, but there's still some depth on that bench that I think needs to be nutted out depending on some of these preseason games. But for me, Jagger Smith, Sardis, Ashcroft. If Ashcroft is named, I'll probably just start him. I might actually, there's a world I might start someone else just to kind of wait and see. For instance, if there was one based on the similar sort of price point, I'd probably be looking at what's his name? O'Driscoll from Fremantle probably. Looks like he might have the number 1 gig, so I might even start him. early favourable draw, maybe play him for a few rounds, see how he goes. If he kicks off, then I can just keep him and then wait on what Levi's doing is an option as well. So someone that no one's going to really have him, was it NOD or Driscoll? He could have some early scores with a good buy, but it does look like he is in their best 22. So that's something that I am looking at for the start of the season, depending on what's going on with Levi Ashcroft. So that's that part of it. Nevitt looks really good in the midfield, highly rated, some stuff about him as well, so let's wait and see on that one, but a little bit more expensive. Bo Allen, wait and see, in and out of the best A side, I think, on their West Coast trial games, but let's just kind of see what happens there. But again, highly talented, some injuries to Sheed, some injuries to Yo, which means that a highly rated kind of, taller left footer coming out of that, say, backline wing or whatever, or I think they could probably use him. So I'd be keen to see if they actually get into that. Stewart as well, been in the system now for a couple years, looks good, midfield, forward. I think either way he's a lock, whether he's forward or whether he's mid. I like having that DPP to kind of flick between to kind of provide some flexibility. Now, I've kind of always had, outside of me having, say, Flynn at R2 with Boyd, there are a couple other rucks lying around, but I don't know if they're going to get a big enough gig. I've had Gawn and Cherry probably for quite a while, mainly because once you get through the first sort of 4 or 5 weeks, Gawn has an easier run. I think he's going to towel up. I think Melbourne in general are probably going to have an easier run. So that's where I think Clary's going to really flourish, hopefully. So Gawn, Cherry, lock him in. I know a lot of people talking about De Koning, and yes, he could score really well. However, at any point that can change, the ruck lineup can change. Melbourne aren't changing their ruck. North aren't changing their ruck. You don't have to worry about, Darcy, Jackson, what's going on. You don't have to worry about all these other things. De Koning, is he sharing with Pitney? Like, what's going on? Just lock him in. And that way Boyd can be in that spot, depending on what happens, obviously. Hoping Marshall apparently fit for round 1, but then if now that King had a bit of an injury, all clear apparently. However, let's see how they start the season. Let's see if Boyd is named with Marshall, and that provides that really good option. Otherwise, I'm probably looking at Archer Reed in that spot. Not sold on Archer Reed. All I know is that he's a forward ruck. He's named in the A team a couple of times now. He's a forward rucking option that was drafted, I think, 12 months ago. So a little bit of time in the system. He's someone that I'm watching. Now, I don't think Erasmus is probably going to be best 22. We'll wait and see, just based off Damo, what he's telling me. So I'm looking maybe elsewhere. There's a few others like Stone I'm looking at. And seeing how that goes. Plus, the one thing is, was it Kako? I don't have in there yet. Berry is another popular option yet. I want to see it. I want to wait and see. I hate all this hype on these pressure forwards and stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's great, but Watson wasn't a great Supercoach scorer last year for a lot of teams as at an elevated price. $140,000 to $150,000 for a small forward. I want to see them get up the ground. I want to see them attach themselves to stoppages. I want to see the burn and turn, the disposal, the possession game, and then trying to get on the scoreboard and link up. That's what I need to see. None of this small forward. They're going to go 40s, 50s some games, and at an already elevated price, you're kind of missing the first price jump, which means that they really need to score quite well in order to get a worthy spot on a team. So it's interesting. Kako, for me, probably think has better job security than others because of some injuries in that team. So, yeah, let's wait and see as far as that goes. Forward line, Horton Francis, easy done, playing a lot of midfield. McRae, Smith, I think most people's forward lines will be very similar. So the point of difference you're probably going to have to make is probably in that D2, sort of D3 spot, depending on if you have Mills, say, D4. And also, are you going to deviate slightly through the midfield, etc.? It's probably going to either be where the main point of differences will be to start the year, and then it's going to be where you upgrade. Do you start with people with a bye? Are you flipping to them early? That's where the real difference is going to come, and that's where I want to have some stepping stones and money to really burn through those trades and upgrade as fast as I can. I want to have a full team buy the second lot of buys, because then that way I can try and upgrade to others to keep my cadence and then use them as loophole swing options while I'm missing. And I've seen like Cherry, Sheasel, etc. At that buy. Now, all things going well, I might actually, if I can't upgrade that, Parker and stuff will probably then get out on my side for other people with better buys, but we'll wait and see. Again, flexible. And we have the trades to do it more so than usual. I think it could be the strategy to, put spread your money across a few more value options with some of your premiums that can get you points on field, and we'll see how we go. But also, yeah, you need high ceiling players. So there is a world where this will change, but preseason and these games will tell me for sure. Caleb Daniel getting kickouts backline, no brainer. Bailey Smith midfield. I know Danger tried to talk him down, but he's been ready since the finals last year. Another preseason. There's nothing wrong with him. He'll go straight in. The vision of him on the training track, he's burning through from half back to half forward with pace and then running more laps and stuff after training in typical fashion. He's fine. There's no worrying about him. Danger's probably just trying to temper reservations. Like, yeah, we'll just get him in here and we'll ease him into it. It's like, yeah, sure. They're going to say that because they don't want to put pressure on the guy. But, yeah, he'll perform. Lynch got knocked out, but I think he's still got a lot of value there. I'm leaning now towards Curtin over, say, Jack Mutton, which could change. But Curtin looked impressive. Intra-club games, some of the footage, he looks bigger, he looks stronger, and that sort of half-forward leading type coming up, impacting, hitting the scoreboard, kicking goals on his left and his right. He just looks stronger, composed, and looks AFL ready now. So he's someone I think for that price, I might lean that way instead of Jack Martin, just because I think the security in that role, in the position that he'll have, I think will be beneficial. And then, yeah, Ashcroft on that forward line in that flex. So Flynn, for me, has been in my side a lot. I'm waiting for him to be best ruckman, but it seems like Bailey Williams is tossing between who they use. So these preseason games will be really, really important as far as how I go with that. So that's the team. Now, if I was to change it slightly, it would probably be, I think it was Sanders, and it's either Peatling or Parker. Either way, it doesn't really matter because they're probably similar, sort of depending on how the season goes. And I'd probably look at Rankin in the forward line, and then I'd probably flip Daniel into this spot if I can. 1 second. Daniel into that spot, and then putting sorry, let me just fix this. And I do like Isaac Kako, so he would probably be the next one in if I was, or Martin, probably the way to go if I was to do it. And if I could probably close that off, that'd be nice. Save my team, let me fix this. All right, there we go. So if I was to do it, I'd probably look at it doing it that way, where very similar, except I'd start with maybe an additional premium. So Rankin, who I think has a good start to the year as well. Another one that I don't think I'll have to trade, maybe get injured, so I'd rather start with him than not start with him. And I think he could really put some damage on early. Now, I know 521, others are looking at players that might be of similar, where they go, oh, well, Parrish will average you more, or someone of similar price will average you more. Yeah, that's possible. However, I still think Rankin will be top handful in his line, so top 2 to 4, and I won't have to trade him. So I'd rather start with him. If he gets injured, I can get rid of him, rather than, I need to bring him in and then he gets injured and then you lose out. So he's someone that I am possibly looking at doing it that way, which means that I get rid of those 2 mid prices. I would then put in a different rookie depending on how the season goes, and then I would then put in Rankin. So it's Rankin and, say, Kako instead of, say, Parker and Sanders. And obviously Peatling could be any one of those two. Now, yeah, we'll wait and see. So the other one is Short, obviously could upgrade to elsewhere. If I needed to find the money, I can find the money. But that's kind of how I'm looking at it. More importantly at the moment, I'm sort of structuring up. Usually it's, say, 2 premium defenders or people I think can go 100 plus just to buy some time. Mills in D3's standard with a couple of more expensive rookies in the defensive line. Again, I think there's value there, and I think they probably perform quite well. Generally, it looks like a good year for it. And then I'm going, say, 4 midfielders with a couple of middies, or maybe 1 mid-pricer, throw Ashcroft into that midfield mix, a few premiums in that spot. And then Guns straight up in the ruck line, I think, seems to be favourable for me at the moment. Flynn, if he comes forth, could be something I might look at, but I just think Gorn, Cherry, easy done. And then that forward line mix, generally it's, Horn Francis, McRae, Smith, Caleb Daniel, Lynch and sometimes like a Martin or someone. So sometimes I have the extra premium, and the extra rookie. It just depends on how these rookies present themselves. So I'm looking for rookies, obviously dictate the structure, and if there's more of them than not, you kind of have to go guns and rookies. But with these buys in the first part of the season, I think you just need high ceiling premium players, plus also some mid prices. They're going to chip away and score you 90s and stuff, while your rookies are getting you 60s. And that's how I'm kind of looking at it. And then more importantly, upgrade season, I can use those, 350 or 250, 350 kind of K players to go one down, one up, bang, you're a premium. Another guy's dropped 100, you've picked up 100, and therefore you're now my premium, and then upgrading that way. And I think that the cadence will be faster. I only have to downgrade to one rookie, not trying to double downgrade and trying to find two rookies on the bubble that'll still perform well and still possibly make me cash. It's just a one, and that should help me get my cycle and try and really accelerate in the start of the season. Because we all know if you don't start well, you're trying to chase your tail. It's too late to upgrade your team when you get to the second round of buys or after those buys, trying to upgrade at the end, which used to be the strategy. By the after, I want to have my final team done by the last buy. Now it's kind of 0 to 100, who can get to premium the fastest, and then have those extra trades to really, over that second buy period, kind of trade out people you don't want on their buy. And that's how you kind of flip those extra trades, hoping for some injury luck, obviously, hoping to get the right premiums in those middies. But I think if I shell game it, play roulette, and spread my chips a little bit, more evenly across, then that way I can find the mid pricer I want, use two trades if I have to, down to a rookie if someone's firing off, up to a premium if I've missed someone, etc. And that's how I'm kind of looking. So yeah, let's see how we go. Let me know what you think. I know it's not perfect. I know it's different to what some other people are doing. I've probably got more mid prices than most people would expect, but I think you have to be flexible. And everyone's saying, oh, Chris, I've got the 25 premium side or 15 premium side, all that stuff. Look, I'm trying to stay open. I'm trying to wait for this data. I'm not trying to take people in that are injured or have had injury-riddled preseasons, etc. So I'm looking for fit people that are ready to fire, that have the role. And we all know role is king, because that is what sets everyone apart each year for the top scoring forwards, and to change as far as in the midfield, elevate your scoring price, etc., and in the defense. So that's it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you like the train of thought more than you like the side. Let me know if you think it's trash. That's okay. I will upgrade you after the unofficial games and then after the official games, because we're getting into that last sort of month, which means the content will start to come a little bit more freely. And this is where we get our best work done. So the data will come. I'll get more recordings in there. And let me know what you think. Thanks for having me. Bye.